So today we'll be looking at this post. It's really a funny post, and it has, subhanallah, it has 5.4 million views, 3,700 comments. So the comments are really funny, and we'll be looking at this inshallah. So this post was made by this guy called Garbage Human, and the name fits the guy, Garbage Human. Actually, hits a garbage for making such a post. So the post reads, "Why is the first one not judged, but the second one offends?" So it's a picture of a woman, a nun, and also a hijabi sister. And the answer we got here, attached to the image, is nuns don't randomly explode. You would see people with different perspective, but this is the first one that came with the image. Nuns don't randomly explode. So this guy is posting this to mock the Muslims. What this means is hijabi sisters randomly can explode. So this is why the second image, the hijabi sister, offends people. It's funny because when you look at hijab and what it entails, it has nothing to do with people randomly exploding. In fact, there's no case scenario where one can point, because if you ask this guy that made that comment, there's no case scenario he can point and say there's a hijabi sister putting on explosive and then randomly exploded. There's no case scenario. For example, let's look at Saudi Arabia, where people say women there are forced to put on hijab. There's no case in Saudi Arabia where a woman randomly exploded. Let's look at Iran, where we see a lot of women putting on hijab. There's no case scenario where a woman randomly exploded. No case scenario. So why is this guy saying women randomly explode? Hijabi sisters randomly explode, and this is the reason why the second image offends. So as you can see, there's no truth whatsoever to this comment. So now let's look at other comments and see what people have to say. This one said, "Because the first is married with our God." Subhanallah. So these women now are married to God. And before I even go further, before now, the word nun, it refers to a prostitute. If someone calls you a prostitute here in Africa, it's an insult. Okay, it means you are for the street. That's what it means. So it's an insult to us. I don't know in the Western culture if it's an insult, but then to us it's an insult. So if you're called a nun before now, it used to be a slang, and it refers to a prostitute. So you know exactly what they do, what prostitutes do. But then these are the people that these guys refer to, the wives of God. I wasn't invited actually. So if they are the wives of God, then I believe that God has more than one wife. That should be the case. It means he has hundreds of thousands, if not millions of wives. Subhanallah. And this is how people drag God to the mud. God has a wife. Subhanallah. It's an insult. So this one said, God and swore an oath to serve Jesus who lives in heaven. So this people swore an oath to serve Jesus. The second is married with an Islamist who lives on earth. A big difference of each other. So these other ones, as you can see, he meant literal marriage. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why there's nuns, they don't get married here on earth. You will never see a nun get married because she believes, or they believe, that they are married to God. This comment says, "Nuns serve the God of Abraham. The other prays to a God unfamiliar to my God." So the God of Abraham, it's funny because when you ask this person, who is the God of Abraham? Perhaps this person would say Jesus is the God of Abraham. But it's interesting to know that Jesus himself said he has a God. So I really can't even place this, because if the God of Abraham is Jesus and Jesus claims to have a God, then you should believe that the God of this hijabi sister is the God of Jesus. Jesus said to Mary Magdalene, "Tell them I'm yet to ascend to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Okay, so it indicates clearly, without a shadow of doubt, that Jesus has a God. In fact, we'd see in John 17, where Jesus said, "So they may know you, the only true God." So it clearly indicates that Jesus is not God. So this is one of the reasons why those people get confused when you ask them to explain God or to tell you about God. They literally don't know what to say. So it's funny. So the God of Abraham is the God of Muhammad sallallahu, is the God of the Muslims. We call him Allah. And when you ask the Jews, they also believe that we serve the same God. No, this is their belief. And they believe Christians are pagan worshippers. They worship three gods that they are totally unfamiliar with. So this one said, "Nuns have to be over 18 years old. Muslim girls have to wear hijab when they are 7 years old, because that's when they are considered sexually attractive." Subhanallah. This is false from all ramifications. This is false. And I know where this is coming from, that the Prophet ﷺ got married to Aisha when she was 6 and he consummated the marriage when she was 9. It is wrong for us to say we find 7 years old sexually attractive. The time we live today is totally different from, the time they live before. In fact, to make matters worse for this woman, I believe she's a woman, to make matters worse for her, when you look at the commentaries of the Laws of England by William Blackstone, he explains that a girl that is 7 years can be betrothed for marriage. And in fact, when we go further, when we look at the West, we would see that in the 18th century, women are given out for marriage between the age of 10 and 12. And in fact, when you look at this community, this state, I've forgotten the name of the state, that the age of consent is 7. So as you can see, in the past, the way they view what adulthood is or what maturity is totally different from how we view it today. Okay, and Islam doesn't put a specific age when it comes to the age of maturity. Okay, no, it doesn't. The age of maturity differs from places to places, from individual to another. So this is totally wrong. We do not view them as sexually attractive. And this one said, nuns are not a symbol of oppression and neither slaves to the man. So is the hijab a symbol of oppression? It's funny how these people keep repeating the same refuted claims that, the hijab symbolizes oppression. This is totally false. We've seen women, coming out and say they prefer to wear hijab. They feel naked without the hijab. How is this oppression? This got to show the hypocrisy in these people. Let's look at this other comment, because most of the comments there are similar, a symbol of oppression. Women are forced to wear the hijab. So let's look at these two comments. This one said, nuns wear a habit because they choose to. Islamic women cover up so their male family members don't beat them to death for bringing shame upon their family. So they do that because they will be beaten to death. We force our women to put on the hijab. This is what this guy is implying. And this comment here also says, nuns opt into it. So it is their own choice to put on the habit. But as for the Muslim women, it is a cultural mandate. So it is mandatory for them to put on the hijab. It is not something that they choose to do. Okay, so let's look at this clip and see how the Muslim women claim that they choose to put on the hijab. This is not something they were forced into.
Are you forced to wear the hijab or is it a choice?
It's a choice for me. It's like a part of me right now. I feel like wearing for like 20 years. So if I don't wear, I feel like I'm missing a part of me.
You're missing a part of you.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah. Like we have this narrative, in the West, that you're oppressed by wearing by being hijabi. But what the two of you are saying is, no, I feel more empowered.
I feel more safe.
More safe?
Yeah.
How safe? Like, what do you mean?
And lastly, just to show again the hypocrisy of this guy, why would some countries ban the hijab if the hijab is believed to be forced on the Muslim women? And these are countries from the West, for example, France, and we've seen, other countries too, that banned the hijab. What it means is that women have chosen to put on the hijab. These countries don't find it palatable, so they enforce the ban of hijab. So it simply shows or tells us that women are the one choosing to put on the hijab and not the other way around. Not as if the men are forcing them to put on the hijab. This is a command from Allah, and it is left for them to either choose to do that, to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or not. What the Muslim countries do is observe decency when you come out. And of course, you would agree with me, because in the West, you can't just go around walking naked. There are codes guiding the way we dress in the public. This is unacceptable in the West. So are these women being forced to put on something? No, that's not the case. But then you say these are your laws. Also, when you go to Muslim countries, these are the laws. When you come out to the public, you should be decently dressed. And putting on the hijab is an indication that you are decently dressed. But when you get home, within the comfort of your home, within the four walls of your house, you can dress the way you want to dress. So these people never get tired trying to demonize Islam. But as Allah says, Wallahu mutimmu nurihi walau kariha al-kafirun. Allah would complete His light even if the disbelievers detest it. I remain your brother Abdul. Catch you in the next one.